According to a story, at least by Emma G, it is on the internet. It's a good story, though.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because we were talking before about Janet and about how Janet really, over a period of time, actually ended up. I mean, you know, as a 12-year-old girl, you are going to turn around into that much pressure and start making something up.
Yeah.
Now, in a sense, I think, in fairness to Derek, he's under a huge amount of pressure for every single week to be coming up with something, and probably on a huge amount of budget as well.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is what I mean. Realistically, when you think kind of logically in the cold light of day about a show like Most Haunted, now it costs thousands of pounds. I mean, as you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds to broadcast a television show, to get the crew and the set and that kind of stuff. They're not going to leave it to chance, are they? Especially a weekend-long live event. I mean, and so you know, this idea that that Derek, poor Derek, is kind of under pressure to perform, and it's not really his fault. I mean, they know. I mean, God, they. I mean, and as I found in the book, I became aware that the PR girl was being very protective over a sheet of paper, so I stole it. I stole it, shoved it down my pants, and I'll look at it later. And all Derek's happenings were scheduled in advance, so to the letter it would say, you know, 7:53, Derek has a happening. 7:55, cut to studio, discuss Derek's happening.
In fairness, though, I mean, I don't think Derek. I think Derek has ended up with the short run of the stick.
Yes, I think
because
he
everyone's
has.
blamed Derek for making stuff up. Yeah, at the end of the day, if it's all been documented on bits of paper, then it's the whole production that's actually decided to do that, not just him. But
absolutely.
What's interesting is the timing of your book coming out with this revelation.
Yeah,
with
revelation.
Derek. Yeah, thank you. English second language. With Derek's departure from the show. Do you think that this book had anything to do with that, and that the best way I mean, I'm just speculating.
Yes.
But I wonder if the way out of it for them was to go, right, okay, it's been out, it's out.
Yeah.
People have found out.
Yeah.
If we blame it on Derek, we'll be okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Just as a
you
thought.
could think conspiracy, and because Derek has his show on Living TV anyway, Ghost Towns now, I think,
Yeah.
so he hasn't lost. So Living TV now have Most Haunted and Ghost Towns, so they're doing really well out of it. But I've had no reaction from Living TV or Flex Tech, who make the show, about the book. So before tonight, I didn't even know that they'd even read it. So I literally have had no response there.
The thing about Most Haunted, it's like addictive viewing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you start watching it, it's actually really good entertainment.
But that's the thing about Derek as well. I mean, I do want to kind of defend him as well, because, you know, having seen him perform live, I think he's a genuinely talented man, and he may not have any supernatural powers, but he is talented. He's a brilliant performer. He's a brilliant entertainer. I couldn't do what he does.
No.
And,
Hey,
you
look,
know,
hang on, we got to go to the ads. Sorry.
From Issues.
People alone now.
Yeah, let's zoom in.
He always gets such a slagging, doesn't he?
Another thing in the book that I found was really interesting, that it was something that it was Lou that mentioned this to you, which is about the patterns. And it's interesting that there's that film that's on at the moment with nouns, always forget. 23 it's called, that film about numbers and patterns of numbers.
Right.
I can't remember who's in it, but it's on
it
all the
looks
tube
rubbish.
stations.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks rubbish, it's a statement.
Jim Carrey, isn't it?
Jim
Yeah.
Carrey, that's the name
not
I
Jim
forgot
Carrey.
about.
It's just a nuisance here.
oh, he is.
We're here with Will Storr, by the way, author of Will Storr vs the Supernatural.
Yep. So, about the pattern of seeing 333 everywhere.
Yes.
Now, Lou in the book says that basically that's almost like the devil's kind of marking, because
Yeah.
things being sort of like the letter 3 is going against the Father, Son and the Holy Ghost. It's like the devil's way of kind of making a different mark.
He said it was an insult to the Holy Trinity.
Insult to the Holy Trinity. Why couldn't it have been the Holy Trinity saying, hey up, be a bit careful about what you're doing, and having the threes being something positive? Well, I mean, I suppose you can't really answer that. Probably Lou would have to answer that.
Yeah.
But did you find that the patterns of threes, when you kind of experienced them, were followed by something apart from the accelerator slowing down on the car you were travelling in?
Yeah.
Did you find that they had any relevance to anything nasty?
No, I mean, because actually, again, and this is what made Lou more compelling to me. He was actually very rational about that, and because on the first night we went there, and he told me on the way about this 3 thing, and you know, I still think, again, I don't buy into this whole Catholic idea about it being the devil and the demon and ghosts, what they are, these demons and devils, proving that God's not powerful or whatever. But he said, you know, this 3 thing, and then I noticed that their clock had stopped exactly dead on 3 o'clock, and I was like, my God, this is brilliant, I can't wait to tell Lou about this. But then afterwards he said, you know, if there's only one thing, it's probably nothing, it's probably just a coincidence. So I thought that was interesting. But he said when there are patterns of lots of things happening 3s in a row, then it's generally something really horrible, and it's generally the haunting involves someone being very scared and, you know, terrifying things happening. So I think that's where that comes from.
Well, do you think that your presence whilst you were doing the research, while you were meeting all these crazy people, do you think that just by being there, you were adding to the drama and they were exaggerating everything that they were doing?
I think in some instances there were exaggerations, and I think when you read the book, it's obvious. It's obvious. I mean, I was very careful I didn't want to. I thought it was very important not to get in the way of the facts, because this is a non-fiction book. So I mean, so I didn't want to say I think this, I think that all the time. So what I've done is I've very carefully just reported what happened. Now I think most sane readers will be able to read certain chapters and go, this guy's obviously mental.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of mentals in the book.
You don't need me to say, this guy's crazy. You know, if he's talking about somebody turning into a wheel from front of him and then him cracking a joke and reversing the wheel from process.
Yeah, lunatics.
Yeah, you know, that's significantly different from a lot of other things that happened.
Becky mentioned the competitive nature of the people that you were meeting. I also detected in the book that you discovered a kind of cloak and dagger style cover-up of lots of incidents, people and places, and did that not make you think it's all made up because certain individuals want to be famous?
Yeah, again, I mean, one of the kind of the joys of the thing to me was, I mean, I guess it's not just talk about ghosts, it's about people who like ghosts and about the people who are attracted to that kind of world. And, like in any, area where you get sort of groups and clubs of people together, they just start bitching about each other and getting competitive and slagging each other off. And I love Big Brother. I mean, it was exactly like that, really. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that there were incidents where people got competitive and perhaps, exaggerated things. But as I say, I mean, the one thing that, again, and this strengthened my kind of belief in these things, which I found instantly, was that you can walk into a room and spend the 5 seconds talking to somebody, and you could tell instantly whether they were for real or not. It was just obvious, the difference between someone talking about, like I say, the werewolfing process, and the difference between Janet, who was from the Enfield case, who was sitting there in her conservatory, close to tears, shaking, and really being reluctant to talk about what she'd experienced. I mean, these things, this was consistent. It was obvious instantly who were just the kind of hobbyists who just desperate to believe in ghosts because it was fun and because they had boring lives, and to put it bluntly, and they, I think who can blame them? But the people who were really traumatised by these things were you could just tell straight away. I mean, you took them seriously.
Would you go anywhere near any of this world again now you've finished the book?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still really interested in the area, and I still look forward to my monthly editions of the SPR's journal, which is always full of with just that does more ESP experiments and stuff. But I still think that the kind of the world of the paranormal and the supernatural, I mean, it's much bigger than ghosts, and there's lots of really fascinating things going on. Even up to now, there's some really amazing scientific experiments going on about the sense of being stared at. But there's recently been some experience about the sense of knowing when the phone's about to ring. I mean, it sounds odd, but these are the things that are going on.
You say it sounds odd?
Yeah.
I've been in this for a year now, every bloody Friday. Honestly, I go through it every week.
Yes, he's not coping with it particularly well, you can tell.
After all of this, though, after everything that you've done, Will, and continue to do, you still have no scientific proof, do you?
Of what?
Of the existence of ghosts.
But what do you mean? Well, I'm not a scientist. I don't do experiments.
No, but there is still nothing to actually prove once and for all that ghosts exist.
Well, I see. So I think this is a red herring, because you get people who say, "Well, okay, get me a ghost in lab conditions, make it happen on command." But what ghost people are saying is that ghosts are conscious beings. It's not like a machine. It's not like a button you can push and a red light comes on. These are things that think for themselves. So it's like, the whole thing of it being under lab conditions and being kind of making this stuff happen in a lab under scientific conditions, that's not going to happen, because these things, the theory is, at least, these things are thinking conscious beings. It's not a physical thing like a pool ball hitting another pool ball. It's something deciding to behave or not. So, I think that
I think it would be impossible, and also as well. I mean, there's so many things that in regards to science, and we'll be getting on. We get lots of people on the show about lots of different subjects, but the ways in which science are certainly starting to understand things about psychic beliefs. Have you watched What the Bleep, Chris?
No.
Because the scientists interviewed I'll get it for you, because the scientists interviewed on the DVD at the end of What the Bleep. It's a film. But at the end of What the Bleep, they're talking about things like psychic ability, precognitive thought, all of these kind of things. These are scientists.
We've got to go to the ads, sorry.